Thank you so much for that very warm welcome. Loving greetings to each one of you here and to the many thousands who are joining us online through live stream for this 2026 SRF World Convocation. We are very, very happy to have you with us. I'm just going to take a moment to look at your smiling faces and to receive and absorb the vibrations of goodwill and support that you are sending. Thank you so much. So the topic for our class is eternal youth. What does it mean and how can we have it? It's an interesting topic, isn't it? And Guruji has given extensive material in his lectures and writings, in the lessons, and so forth. But for the class today, I have primarily taken the material from Guruji's book, Journey to Self-Realization, the very first chapter. It's called How to Express Everlasting Youthfulness. So if any of you have read this chapter, studied it, made it your own, I give you permission to leave the class right now. I will not feel offended. But what I have tried to do is to distill what Guruji gives in his teachings on this very profound subject. I would like to begin by sharing a personal story. I met this gentleman, I'll call him Mr. S, about 10 years ago. A common friend had introduced me to him by phone. Mr. S was about in his 70s at that time, and he had just read the autobiography of a yogi, and he was very interested in Guruji's life, our Guru Paramahansa Yogananda's life, and the teachings in general. He had not read anything else yet. And I invited him to come to the Mother Center and that I would spend some time with him, telling him about the teachings. So on the appointed day, I go to the main building at the Mother Center to meet him. And I'm expecting, an elderly man in his 70s. And I was so astonished because he emanated the energy of a 25-year-old. He had a spring in his step, he had a strong handshake, he was lean and fit, and as I got started talking to him, my astonishment only increased because he seemed so interested in life. He seemed interested in so many topics from quantum physics to economics to spirituality. And he was even going to college and taking a course on human evolution. And he told me he went to the gym 6 days a week, worked out 1 hour each day, and his doctor told him he was his fittest patient. I wasn't surprised. And as we started talking about Guruji's teachings, he said, I am going to enroll for the lessons, and I'm going to practice those techniques of meditation with all my attention and focus, and I'm going to implement the spiritual principles as taught by Guruji. And I knew he would. He was so enthusiastic and willing. I was uplifted and inspired being in his presence. I was like, yeah, let's go. And I thought to myself, wouldn't Paramahansa Yogananda ji, our Guru, love him? Just awake and ready. Let me ask you a question. How many of you know someone like a Mr. S who is elderly in the body but youthful in spirit? Raise your hands. Quite a few people raised their hands. And the second question is, how many of you know someone who is young but not youthful? Raise your hands. Okay. So the point here is, there is no real connection between a youthful spirit and the age of the body. It almost entirely depends on the state of the mind, isn't it? Someone said, You can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old. And listen to what our Guru Paramahansa Ji said. All young people are not necessarily youthful. Some are already old and jaded far beyond their years. In contrast, some elderly people remain youthful in spite of their advancing age. They keep their minds young. Their smiles trickle down from their souls into their bodies and faces. Their very lifeblood throbs with the joy of being. The age of the body has no real connection with youthfulness. It is the state of the mind and the expression of the soul that makes a person youthful. And then Guruji defines youth. I love this definition. He said, the definition of youth is that state of body, mind, and soul in which one feels the acme, the zenith of joy and power. If you want to, you can retain that state indefinitely. Conversely, by carelessness, you can lose it very easily. Let me share one more story. We have a monk in the ashram who keeps himself very fit. He exercises regularly and works out. He eats well. And one time, some years ago, I noticed that he was exercising more than usual. So I thought he was, preparing for some special event like running a marathon or something, But just for the record, SRF monks do not run marathons. But I knew he was getting ready for something special. So one day I asked him, I said, what's up, brother? I mean, you have been exercising so much more recently. And he said, in a few weeks, I'm going to visit my mother. And she likes to go on these long hikes, arduous hikes, and I need to get in shape. His mother must have been in her 70s at that time. Wasn't she representing what Guruji just said? It's a state of the mind. I want to share two more stories of people who defied age. I found them very inspiring myself. The first is of a Kenyan gentleman by the name of Kimani Maruge. Anyone from Kenya here? There is someone? Okay. Oh, there's a few. Wonderful. You must know him. So Kimani Maruge held the world Guinness record for being the oldest pupil in a primary school. He was 84 years old. When the Kenyan government in 2003 made primary education universally available and freely accessible, he felt he needed to enroll. He was not educated. And he had tremendous opposition. There's a movie on this, by the way. It's called The First Grader. It came out in 2011. Very inspiring, how many oppositions he faced, because he was sitting with 5-year-old kids in the classroom, and here he was 84 years old, old enough to be their great-grandfather. But Kimani was a model student. He wore his uniform proudly. He studied diligently. And in 2005, 2 years after he started school, he was elected head boy of the school. He traveled the world advocating for education rights. And I want to show you a couple of his photographs. Can we please put that up on the screen? And there's a second one. Yes, thank you. The second person I want to share about is a Japanese gentleman by the name of Tatsuo Horiochi. Anyone from Japan here today? No, I'm sure somebody is joining online. So Tatsuo became an internet phenomena in his 70s after he retired from his work. And what made him so famous was he started doing artwork using the computer on a program called Microsoft Excel. Okay? For those of us who have used Excel, we know it's not a drawing program. It's used to do calculations, creating tables, and so forth. But he taught himself how to use Excel, and he used the drawing tools and the fill shapes and tools to create stunning landscapes and Japanese artwork. And he became an internet phenomena. So let's put up his photos on the screen, please. That's created in Microsoft Excel. Isn't that inspiring that the age of the body has no limit on what we can accomplish? And to remind us of Guruji's definition of youth, the definition of youth is that state of body, mind, and soul in which one feels the acme, the zenith of joy and power. He also tells us, this is the other definition he gives us, which I like also. He says, the psychological basis of youthfulness is a vigorous, internally smiling mind that externalizes itself in a smiling countenance. It's an internally smiling mind which comes out on the face as a smile. So I think we can all agree that there is no real connection between the age of the body and a youthful spirit, and that it is almost entirely dependent on the state of the mind. You with me so far? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So now many of you may be thinking, well, that's all fine and good, but is eternal youth of the body possible? Of the body? Yes, it is possible. But it is manifested only by a very few spiritual masters who live in seclusion. Done. We don't get to see them. Guruji has told us that Mahavatar Babaji has retained his youthful form for millenniums, and he lives in secret seclusion in the Himalayas. And friends, even today, there are great spiritual masters who are alive on this planet, who live in seclusion, who have completely overcome body consciousness. There's a story Guruji shares in the Divine Romance, which I love so much. Guruji writes, in bitingly cold weather, I saw one saint in the Himalayas who had nothing on. Won't you catch cold? I said. Sweetly he answered, if I am warm with God's love, how can I feel the cold? Guruji says, saints like him are greater than any crowned king. Some years ago, a friend of mine sent me a very inspiring video, which I was so uplifted by, and I wanted to share that with you today. And this video was taken about 10 years ago, way before the AI era, so it's not AI generated, I can assure you that. It was shot on a very dinky little mobile phone, old phone, so the quality isn't great. And what happened was these soldiers in the Indian army, they were patrolling in the high Himalayas, completely white, snow-covered, freezing temperature. They're wearing thick jackets, gloves. You'll see a little bit of them, the side of their jacket and so forth in the video. And as they're patrolling, they come across this sadhu, this yogi, who has nothing on except a loincloth. And he's walking barefoot in the snow. The snow is like this deep, his feet are sinking like that in the snow. And he has a little dog with him too. And the yogi sits down, and he's taken aback by seeing these soldiers there, for one thing. And so he walks away from the soldiers, he sits down in perfect lotus posture in Padmasana, and just sits motionless for a few minutes, and then he gets up and he starts walking towards the soldiers. And I'll let you watch what happens there. And the reason I found this so inspiring was, obviously the yogi had completely mastered body consciousness. Here the soldiers are wearing these thick jackets and beanie caps and gloves, and here he's walking bare-bodied. And it's about 90 seconds long. I have actually edited the video with the help of a really wonderful devotee, for brevity's sake. And I've removed some background noise because the soldiers are talking to each other, and I didn't want for us to get disturbed by those conversations. And so I've tried to stabilize the video a little bit because the phone was shaking. So anyway, let's play that video. It's about 90 seconds long. Complete mastery of the body, isn't it? And he couldn't contain his joy in God, doing somersaults and going down the hill. Do you think he was 25 years old? I don't think so. Warning, do not try this at home. Guruji said on a different occasion, various saints who have remained in secret seclusion, hidden from the skeptical gaze of an unenlightened world, have lived far beyond a normal lifespan, maintaining youthfulness not only of spirit, but of the body as well. Why be astonished that some masters, to fulfill a divine purpose at God's behest, choose to live unusually long lives? We see in nature that there are animals that can live much longer than ordinary human beings. Yet, man is supposed to be the superior creature. Why is he less long-lived? Because, as human beings, we are uniquely gifted with free will, privileged to do anything we like. And by the misuse of this endowment, man chooses to do all the things he should not do. His wrong habits of living, thinking, persistence in disunion from God are passed from generation to generation in the process of evolution, severely limiting the expression of his divine potentiality, physically as well as mentally and spiritually. Isn't that fascinating? Guruji is saying that even in this mortal form, we have infinite potentiality, but we are limiting it by misuse of our free will. So the question then becomes, do we really want everlasting youth of this body while we are still in delusion? God allows great masters like Mahavatar Babaji to retain their physical forms indefinitely for the purpose of a special dispensation. But for you and me, who are still groping in delusion, do we really want to stay in this body forever? I know I don't. I think what we really want is to experience the immortality of the soul. Listen to what Guruji says. Everlasting youth is possible, but we are really seeking the immortality of the soul. And as the soul outlasts all changes of its reincarnated physical existences, we must seek the everlasting energy, everlasting joy of an immortal existence. Hence, we are not seeking the everlasting youth of the short-lasting body, but of the soul. We must concentrate on the immortality of the spirit by meditation and then stamp that immortal happiness on the body. We must concentrate on the immortality of the spirit by meditation and then stamp that immortal happiness on the body. That's what we want. So, how to express everlasting youthfulness in spirit? Guruji tells us that there are definite laws of the mind and laws of the body to express a youthful spirit. And I'm going to share with you what those laws are. We'll go first through the laws of the mind. There are 4 laws of the mind, and then there are 6 laws of the body to express everlasting youthfulness. So let's start with the laws of the mind. There are 4 laws. The first is have a happy state of mind. Second, smile sincerely in all circumstances, meaning cheerful even-mindedness. Third, be willing. And fourth, be selfless. If you think of these laws of the mind, they are really methods for emotional mastery. And if you think of people who express a youthful spirit despite their age, you will see that they follow, knowingly or unknowingly, these laws of the mind. So I'm going to just touch briefly on each of these laws, and I'll read to you a few quotes of Guruji in each of them. We don't have time to do deep dives in each one, but just to give you an overview. So the first one, have a happy state of mind. I gave a class on this topic 2 years ago on having a joyful spirit. And what did we discuss there? Essentially was that happiness was a choice, not a result. Now, there's a quote of Guruji that if you choose to be happy, no one can make you unhappy. And if you choose to be unhappy, no one can make you happy. What is the operative word in those phrases? Choose. It's our choice. So happiness is a choice, not a result. If we wait for circumstances to improve, for them to get perfect before we can be happy, we will be waiting a very long time, like forever. And the happiness we are talking about is not ordinary worldly happiness that is dependent on fulfillment of a desire, which is fleeting, temporary, comes and goes. We are talking about the joy of the soul. That's the happiness we want. A joy that can let us stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds, like Guruji says. And friends, it can be done. You saw that yogi, he had that. He had no clothes and he was rolling in joy. It can be done by mastering of the mental faculties, through concentration, through deep meditation, and by following the spiritual principles as taught in the SRF YSS teachings. It can be done. Guruji said, seeking God in meditation is the direct way to attain a joyous and youthful state of mind. So that was number one. Have a happy state of mind. Number two, smile sincerely in all circumstances. Operative word is all. All circumstances. In other words, being cheerfully even-minded, no matter what happens. Guruji said, if you have a contagious smile that wells up from your true inner being, you are youthful. And I have experimented with this, and I'm sure many of you have. You have a day where everything is going wrong, right? Everything seems to be contriving to make us fail. There is no reason to smile, every reason to have a long face, every reason to be in a mood. And in those circumstances, when I have smiled sincerely, immediately there is a mood uplift. And it works like magic. And there is a reason for this, because there's a deep connection between physiology and psychology. When we smile, the body sends a signal to the brain that everything is fine. And the brain sends a signal to the body that you can be relaxed. And it starts a reinforcing positive cycle. It's hard to do, but if you can start small, you'll see it'll do wonders. Guruji said, when you can remain cheerfully even-minded always, you will find every cell of your body alive with great joy. That was the second, smiling sincerely in all circumstances. Third, be willing. Willingness and enthusiasm and interest go hand in hand, isn't it? You can't be willing without enthusiasm. And when we think of people who are youthful, they are willing, they are enthusiastic, like the Mr. S I told you about. They're interested. Will brings energy. Will brings energy. How? First, it connects the body with the reserves of energy in the brain. It sort of opens a channel. There's tremendous energy locked up in the brain, Guruji says. And when we are willing, it opens a channel for that energy to flow into the body. And second, even more important, it opens the medulla oblongata. And this cosmic energy then flows down like a torrent into the body. We don't see it, but it is happening. Right? It's like a switch. When you become willing, you're turning on the switch to tap into the energy in the body and in the cosmos. And we love to be around enthusiastic, willing people. It fills us, right, with energy. It's contagious. Guruji said, willingness is important in order to retain youthfulness. The same principle is applicable in every situation. If you are unwilling, then you have no interest or energy. If you are willing, you have the vitality and enthusiasm of youthfulness. That was number 3, be willing. Number 4, and the last one in the laws of the mind, be selfless. And I'm sure we have all had experiences where when we have done something for others without any selfish motive, without expectation of anything in return, we have felt good, isn't it? We have felt good, we have felt closer to God, we are filled with energy and enthusiasm. It's a law, it's a spiritual law. When we forget self and do for others, God loads us up with energy and makes us feel so good. Quote by Guruji on this topic, he said, another key to mental youthfulness is to learn to be less selfish and self-centered and more giving and caring towards others. So the 4 laws of the mind: have a happy state of mind, develop that. Number 2, smile sincerely in all circumstances, meaning cheerful even-mindedness. Number 3, be willing. And number 4, be selfless. So now on to the laws of the body. There are 6 laws that Guruji gives us. And again, we'll touch upon each of them briefly. The first one is maintain a strong will. Second, avoid overeating or eat in moderation. Third, support proper elimination. Fourth, have good posture. Fifth, exercise regularly. And the last, conserve the sex energy. So let's start with the first one, maintain a strong will. Now many of you may be thinking, we just discussed be willing as one of the laws of the mind, and so how is maintain a strong will different than that? There is a subtle difference. So be willing means that we have the right mental attitude to do something with interest and enthusiasm. Having the right mental attitude, that is be willing. Maintain a strong will, on the other hand, means to keep our willpower awake and ready so that we can accomplish something. See the difference? There's a subtle difference. One is more a mental attitude, the other one is perhaps a little more physical, keeping the willpower awake and ready. Now, one powerful technique Guruji gives us to strengthen our willpower is the energization exercises. That technique is completely using willpower. If we do it correctly, as given in the lessons, they are not physical exercises as we learned earlier today in the class. They are pranayam, and you control the prana through will. Right? And I want to share to you a very inspiring story I found that one of a long-time devotee shared with me. And I was so inspired I wanted to share it with you. So he was a skeptic to begin with. And he and his wife have been on the path for more than 50 years. They started in the early 70s. He was a skeptic, but somehow his wife convinced him to start attending some of the Sunday services at Lake Shrine in the early 70s. Reluctantly, he showed up, but he found that the ministers, what they were sharing was nothing outrageous, so he continued to come. And eventually, they enrolled for the lessons. They both worked in the film industry, working long, arduous hours. And I asked him to write this for me, and I have his permission to share this with you. He said, we signed up for the lessons and began studying them exactly as directed. I wanted to jump straight to the lesson on the energization exercises, convinced they would help me survive the standard 12-hour workdays. What captivated me most was Master's teaching that we possess unlimited energy and can recharge our bodies by tapping into the unlimited power of cosmic energy. And more importantly, Guruji made clear that this was not a matter of belief, it was scientific. All one had to do was to try it and prove whether it worked or not. That was something my scientific mind could fully embrace. When we finally reached the lesson on the energization exercises, I was ready. My wife and I had both years of training in dance and theater. We understood body control, breath control, and mental focus. One evening, we practiced all 36 energization exercises with total focus, total concentration, and total energy. And this is the amazing part. He said, we stayed up that entire night meditating and talking, worked through the entire next day, and I never felt a trace of tiredness. This is what convinced him, friends, to really go into the teachings because he saw it worked. He goes on to say, that was one of the major turning points of my life. I knew without question that this path of Kriya Yoga was real, that what Yoganandaji taught was achievable, and that if I truly wanted it, all I had to do was bring discipline, focus, concentration, and energy to the practice. Guruji's quote, he said, you can vitally recharge every cell of the body by Kriya Yoga meditation and by the exercise of will to tap the cosmic source of power. If you keep your will intact and use that will to perform all your physical and mental actions with cheerful willingness, your body and mind will remain vitally youthful. Willpower is the key. So that was the first law of the body. Maintain a strong will. Second, avoid overeating. In other words, eat in moderation. And again, I want to share a little story. This is of our head gardener in our Ranchi ashram in India, in YSS. And he has been employed in the ashram for many years, few decades, like 30 plus years at least. He's always alive, awake, vital, energetic, enthusiastic. He's strong-bodied. So one day I was talking to him some years ago in Ranchi, and I said, and he told me that since he had started his work in the ashram many decades ago, he has not taken one day of sick leave. He has never fallen sick. I said, what is your secret? And in 3 simple words, he told me in Hindi, Kam khata hai, meaning I eat less. I eat in moderation. And again, this has to be understood in the right spirit. I'm not talking of depriving the body of the proper nourishment and the energy it needs, but not consuming more than the body needs. That's the key point. Moderation is the key point. And he looks strong. He doesn't look like someone who is not eating enough. He's strong and vital. And Guruji has such a direct way of conveying a point, right? So listen to what he said. He says, the animals in the zoo are fed more scientifically than the average human being. He said, you should govern your eating habits by what you should eat and not merely by what pleases your sense of taste. And then he says, avoid overeating. Ingesting more food than the body needs can be as harmful as wrong eating. Don't think you have to eat just because the dinner bell rings. And when you do eat, eat less. And also learn to fast 1 day a week and 3 consecutive days a month on fresh fruits or unsweetened fruit juices. And again, friends, the main key is moderation, not depriving the body of the necessary nutrition. They say that when your body feels 80% satisfied at the dinner table, you get up. You shouldn't be 100% or 110% satisfied. That's when the trouble starts. So that was the second law of the body, avoid overeating. Third law, support proper elimination. And this is achieved by eating correctly, eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables and fasting regularly, like Guruji said in the previous quote. Then the body will stay firm, alert, youthful, right? And Guruji has shared so extensively about this subject in his teachings. I'm not going to go deep into that in this particular class. We all know his thoughts on diet. Now, on the topic of fresh fruits, I have a little funny story to share with you. So some months ago, another monk and I, we were in New York City for some work for Guruji. And we had finished our work, and it was the night before our departure to come back to Los Angeles. And we had some extra fruit in our living quarters that I didn't want to go to waste. So I said, I'm going to go on a walk, And hopefully I'll find some homeless person and I'll hand over the fruit to that person. So I had a little bag, paper bag. It was February, so it was extremely cold. It was snowing. It was windy, and I was wearing thick jackets and beanie caps and gloves and everything. So I was walking, and I walked and walked, couldn't find anyone. Eventually, I came to a traffic light, and I saw this one gentleman was holding a little paper cup, and he was begging. And people were coming and dropping some coins or dollar bills in his cup. So I said, oh, this is a great opportunity. Let me, maybe he'll be happy to have this. So I went to him and I said, friend, I don't have money, but I have some fruit. And he looked at my bag and he said, thank you, but I don't do fruit. I said, oh, okay. But as yogis, we do fruit. We want to do fruit, okay? So that's the third point, support proper elimination. Fourth one, have good posture. We know that when we see someone who stands and sits erect, they already have the youthful spirit in them, right? So standing and sitting erect really is very good for that. And Guruji said, posture is important to good health. Poor posture constricts the healthy flow of the life energy in the various parts, body parts, and vital organs. So simple, Guruji talks about Sri Yukteswarji always standing and sitting erect, and we have seen pictures of how impressive he is. So that was number 4, have good posture. Number 5, exercise regularly. And this is one of the tenets of Guruji's teachings, is to exercise the body daily. He says you should exercise until a sweat breaks out throughout the body. Modern science has so much to share about this. It's good for the body, it's good for the mind, it's good for the whole system, exercising regularly. It doesn't have to be intense exercise, it can be just a brisk walk, whatever is suitable for our age and body type, right? I want to again read to you a couple of his quotes, because in his inimitable style, he just conveys in a few short sentences what would otherwise take, one whole page. He said, to develop physical magnetism, first of all, you must build a body that is strong and sure of itself, not to the point of vanity, but a body that is at your command. Picture a lazy man going about his work with no ambition, no energy at all. Then visualize a racehorse ready to run at the crack of a whip. That is how your body must be. Doesn't that inspire you? Just that visualization of that horse just waiting for the door to open and to dash out. He says, that is how our body must be. Not that we have to be, muscular or, be bodybuilders, but a body that is at our command, like he said. And then he writes elsewhere, take regular exercise such as walking every day. Learn to breathe properly, calmly and deeply, filling the lungs all the way to the lower lobes. This is very important. Most people breathe very shallow here. You have to go all the way to the lower parts of the lobes. When the system is well oxygenated by proper breathing and exercise, the life force therein vitalizes the whole body, including the brain. So that was number 5, exercise regularly. Number 6, the last one, conserve the sex energy. And again, Guruji has written extensively about this, so I'm not going to dwell too long on this subject. I'll just read to you one quote which is complete. Guruji said, lastly, in connection with the physical aspects of youthfulness, it is extremely important to conserve your power of sex. Overindulgence in sex and misuse of nature's creative force will bring on disease and old age quicker than anything else. It devitalizes the body and weakens the immune system. So again, Guruji is talking of moderation, not overindulging, conserving the energy as much as possible, right? And this is yogic science. So the 6 laws of the body that we spoke about, maintaining a strong will, avoid overeating, support proper elimination, have good posture, exercise regularly, and conserve the sex energy. Now, friends, at some level, we intuitively know that we are greater than this body. We know that we are the soul that will outlast this body. And the soul, being a spark of the divine, is immortal, is divine consciousness. And its journey will continue beyond this body. Intuitively, we know that. And perhaps that is why we are trying to express that immortality of the soul, which is our true identity, in the body. See, we know we are ever youthful inherently as the soul. And we are now trying to express that youthful spirit in the body, into the vehicle that we are in right now. Guruji said, in the eternal consciousness of the immortal soul is the germ of our desire for eternal youth. It is because we attribute to youth the qualities that are really found only in the soul, eternal consciousness, eternal existence, eternal joy, that we seek eternal youth. And then he says, in the final analysis, the sought-after fountain of youth is to be found in your soul. Your true self, being made in the image of God, is immortal. The highest expression, friends, of this eternal youthfulness can really be achieved through our recognition of our real identity, that we are the soul unified with God. When we have that realization, then we will be eternally youthful. And the teachings of SRF YSS give us like a complete framework of how to attain that state of self-realization, of that complete self-mastery. So to summarize the key points that we discussed today, we all agreed that the spirit of youth has no real connection with the age of the body, but is almost entirely dependent on the state of the mind. Again, repeating Guruji's quote, the psychological basis of youthfulness is a vigorous, internally smiling mind that externalizes itself in a smiling countenance. Then we talked about the 4 laws of the mind to express everlasting youthfulness in this physical form. Have a happy state of mind. Smile sincerely in all circumstances, that is cheerful even-mindedness. Be willing and be selfless. Then we talked about the 6 laws of the body. Maintain a strong will, avoid overeating, support proper elimination, have good posture, exercise regularly, and conserve the sex energy. And then, as Guruji said, eternal youth of the body is possible, but it is reserved for a few great spiritual masters who are, at the behest of God, carrying out a special dispensation. And they usually live in seclusion. And Guruji said, everlasting youth is possible, but we are really seeking the immortality of the soul. And lastly, the highest expression of eternal youthfulness can be manifested when we have achieved recognition of our true identity as the soul, a spark of the divine, when we have achieved that ultimate state of self-realization. That is when we will manifest true youthfulness. So in closing, I would like to read this quote. Please close your eyes, and in this short quote, Guruji summarizes everything we have spoken about in the last 45 minutes. He said, if you can be cheerful and even-minded in all circumstances and do all things willingly, you can be mentally ever youthful If, in addition, you obey health laws and use your will to draw on the infinite cosmic energy, you can promote vital youthfulness in the body. And above all, if you know that you are immortal, made in the image of God, your whole being will glow with that eternal youthfulness. Now we will have a short guided meditation and we will practice an affirmation together. Please sit in the correct posture with your spine erect, if possible, away from the back of the chair, feet flat on the floor, shoulders held back, hands with the palms upturned, resting at the junction of the thighs and the abdomen. Neck in line with the spine, straight, chin parallel to the floor, eyes gently closed, with the gaze lifted and focused at the spiritual eye, at the seat of concentration of the body, the Kutastha Chaitanya, the point between the eyebrows. Now we will do Guruji's preliminary breathing exercise that he teaches to relax the body. We will inhale deeply through the nose, tense the entire body from foot to head, hold the tension for a count of 3, and then with a double exhalation, we release the breath and relax the body. Let's do this together. Inhale, hold and tense, relax. Inhale, hold and tense. Inhale, hold and tense. Now let go of all the residual tension in the body. If you feel any tension in any body part, like the shoulders or the back or the hands, legs, gently tense that particular body part and relax. Let go. Just let the body feel like a relaxed jellyfish. Our beloved former Sri Dayamata said, in meditation, your body should be like a limp noodle hanging on the erect pole of the spine. Your spine is erect like a pole, but your flesh is hanging like a limp noodle, completely relaxed. Let go, drop the shoulders, relax the body. Now we will do Guruji's 20-20-20 breathing exercise where we inhale the breath for a certain count, we hold the breath for the same count, and then we exhale the breath through the mouth for the same count. I'll pick a count that is comfortable for most of us, so let's do this together. Inhale through the nose, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale. Now let the relaxation be even deeper. In meditation, we have to relax. If the energy is locked up in the body, the consciousness is going to be in the body and won't be freed up to go into the spine, into the higher centers of consciousness, in the spine and the brain. So relax the body consciously. Let go, let go. Now do a few deep inhalations and exhalations at your own pace. Fill the entire lungs and then exhale immediately, exhaling all the breath completely from the lungs. And do this at your own pace for a few times. Now finish your last exhalation and just enjoy this feeling of peace and relaxation for just a moment. The more we concentrate on that, the bigger it becomes. Now we will practice an affirmation together. I'll read it once all the way through and then we will start repeating it. The affirmation goes like this: I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. So please repeat after me. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. I am the soul, a reflection of ever-youthful spirit. I am vibrant with youth, with ambition, with power to succeed. Om. Peace. Shanti. Amen. Jai Guru. Wishing you all a very blessed rest of the convocation.